Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we've got a very lively day going on today, as we do have some very heavy rain in the north, and we've seen a yellow warning for rain issued for the northeast through this morning, and we've got thunderstorm warning issued for large portions of England and Wales, and that warning has been extended both northwards and southwards as that risk has increased overnight. And we have got a yellow wind warning across the south coast, as we're going to see some very strong gusty winds. But as we see on the UKV and the Rome run, those thunderstorms and that lively weather will continue through most of this evening, and we'll be able to check out on the UKV what could be happening later this week. Now, in yesterday's video, I did highlight the possibility of seeing some more very heavy rain or very stormy spell perhaps on Saturday, and that has upgraded within the models and looking more likely now. We could see an even more severe system move in on Saturday, both with heavy rain and potentially thunderstorms, but the wind has really picked up on the latest runs, with some of the models showing 70 plus miles per hour towards Wales and southwest England, which would be pretty severe. And if that did come off, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing a named storm issued for that. But that is still a number of days away, and we still have to get through the issues over the next few days with this very severe low pressure system. But if you are sick of this unsettled, cool, stormy weather, then there are some good signs on the longer range. We have highlighted it over the last few days of the risk of some warmer, hotter, drier weather as we progress through August, and that is looking more and more likely as we go further on. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see the low pressure system at the moment. We've got the centre of the low just down towards Cardiff, South Wales and South West England. We've got a big band of rain spiralling around it, and we'll have thunderstorms forming within this, both embedded in this area of rain and to the northern and eastern edge of this. You can already see showers taking off at the moment, and the thunderstorms will really start to pick off around 2, 3, 4 p.m. So by the time you're probably watching this, those thunderstorms are really starting to take off. Further northwards, we've got the weather front associated with this low pressure system, but now the low is moving directly eastwards. It basically means this weather front, is pretty stationary on its northern and southern extent, really just spiraling in these areas of rain from east to west. And for northeastern parts here into Yorkshire, we're going to be seeing some very heavy rain, perhaps 30-40 millimetres of rainfall over the next 12 hours or so, and we have seen a yellow warning issued for rainfall here, and you can see some really high intense rainfall rates in these areas. A few gaps appearing, but those will be short-lived. The areas where we do see these intense bands continue to move in, as I said, could see some flooding issues through the rest of today. But you can see further southwards, heavy showers starting to break out. No big thunderstorms yet, and some of the models are indicating that some of these heavy thundery showers will more likely be rainfall, intense, and less in terms of sort of the typical thunderstorm activity, because of the profile, the convective profile we do have today, basically meaning it's less likely to be lightning and sort of severe sort of hail and things like that. Much less likely to be seeing that, but more likely to be seeing the very intense rainfall rates. Combining that with the strong gusty winds across the south, could be some wild conditions out there at times through this afternoon. But we've got to see over the coming hours how they do form. But really is that stretch from southern Wales through the London area down towards Kent and Essex. This stretch here got a really quite horrible rest of the day. Not only seeing persistent rain under this weather band, but also seeing embedded thunderstorms starting to build over the coming hours. Now, if you do look at the temperatures, you'll be able to see it's going to be a pretty poor day across the Midlands, where we've got only a few showers at the moment, but we'll see thunderstorms through this afternoon. Temperatures just about getting into the 20s, but likely to fall as showers, cloud and storms do take off this afternoon. But most other areas are pretty cool, pretty abysmal, down towards the mid to high teens at best. If you do put on the latest wind speeds really only strongest along the far south coast, and that's why we've got the warning zone, really not extending too far in that, especially towards the centre of the low pressure system, where winds have fallen really quite light, but that also means more intense updrafts, less shear to break apart those storms, and it'll mean they're slower moving as well. So even though it's less wind speeds, could exacerbate the rainfall in these areas. And if we do actually have a look at the past 24-hour precipitation as well, we'll be able to see that many areas have seen a lot of rainfall already over the past 24 hours or so. You can see some intense rainfall across parts of northern France, where those weather fronts overnight did hit much of England and Wales, but the heaviest stuff went to our south, really battering these areas. And you can see already the rainfall is totting up through northern England. This will only get increased, especially on this eastern edge over this afternoon, and some intense rainfall across Northern Ireland. Just another pretty miserable last 24 hours, and probably next 24 hours to come. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we've seen a change to the weather warnings this morning. We've got this yellow warning that has been issued for northeastern parts from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. this evening. Again, 30 to 50 millimetres could build as we see longer spells of rain, heavy at times. There's also the risk that we could see a bit of thunderstorms forming in this, most likely towards the southern extent where it kind of overlaps with the thunderstorm warning. High likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix. And again, it's just going to have to keep an eye on the radar, but these areas are going to be seeing persistent rain through the rest of the afternoon into the evening. Even if it's not particularly heavy, it most likely will be raining all day until that weather front eventually pulls away later this evening. Now, we've got this very large thunderstorm warning. It has been extended both northwards and southwards. You can see here, warning updated to extend thunderstorms risk a little further northwards and southwards. And again, it's from 9 a.m. this morning until 8 p.m. this evening. High likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix. Again, 20 to 25 millimetres in an hour, maybe 40 millimetres in a few hours. Lightning and hail will be additional hazards, but I do suspect the rainfall will be the main hazard here. Again, not all areas within the warning zone will see the big thunderstorms, will see intense rainfall, but most here will see heavy showers, and some will see some big thunderstorms. Now, I've got this yellow warning, which actually, for most of this warning zone, is actually offshore, really only covering maybe about 10 to 30 miles inland in most of these areas across the south. And unseasonably windy weather will affect coastal southern England on Wednesday, leading to some disruption to travel and outdoor activities. Slightly earlier than the other warnings, expiring at 6 p.m. this evening, but it still could be gusty winds elsewhere. At times, 45 to 50 miles per hour widely, maybe 55 to 60 miles per hour in exposed regions. High likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix. So again, just by looking at this, if we do see 70 miles per hour towards Saturday in some regions of South Wales and South West England, could be an amber warning issued for that, and could see a named storm as well. We'll have to keep a very close eye on that system. So if you go over to the UKV now and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, also have a look at those wind gusts, as they're going to be very lively over the next few days. You can see all the rainfall across the north at the moment, really spiralling in through the next few hours. Intense rainfall rates across northeast England over the next few hours. And as we head towards around the 3 p.m. point, you can see the main band of rain starting to clear, and this is where the thunderstorms take off around the centre of the low through the Midlands, but more likely in larger clusters across central southern England, and that heavy rainfall continuing across northeast England. Now, that rainfall across northeast England will degrade away around 7-8 p.m, but slowly lose its intensity and pull away, and those thunderstorms could last again to around that 5 or 6 p.m. point. It's slightly uncertain exactly how late they will last. We'll just have to keep an eye on the live radar. Beyond that, through this evening, we do go into a northerly wind, so we're going to turn slightly drier, more widely because it's a drier air direction, but there still could be some quite intense showers in places tomorrow. A few thunderstorms are possible down the spine of England, as we do see a bit of convergence zones appearing for that change in wind speeds, but most areas will be a better day. It will be cool though with that northerly wind, drier but colder air. As we progress into Friday, again, could be a few showers down the spine of England, down towards eastern areas. Again, bit of a convergence zone appearing there as the westerly flow comes in against the northerly flow. But you can see the next intense low is approaching from the Atlantic. You see very organised low pressure system, some intense bands of rain within this, and really through Saturday, where that centre of the low moves through the Irish Sea on its southern edge, we could see some extremely strong winds. Not only just extremely strong for this time of year, but extremely strong in general for the UK. through Saturday morning, and some very heavy rain in northern and eastern areas could be pretty horrible there. Through the afternoon, that's where we could see the risk of heavy thundery showers breaking out around the centre of the low once the big weather fronts had cleared, and then they could see more widespread gusty winds as well through Saturday afternoon, before eventually pulls away, and Sunday looks like a better day, but again could be a few showers around. Now, if you look at the wind gusts, you'll be able to see that through this afternoon, we see those winds get up to 40, 50, maybe an isolated 60 miles per hour across the south coast or out towards the Channel through the afternoon, before eventually dying away through this evening. Over the next few days, nothing too strong, maybe 20, 30 mile per hour gusts in places, but that's not too unusual out to sea. But as we head into Saturday, look at that intense system approaching Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, widely 50 to 60 miles per hour, could even develop inland. So even if this storm doesn't get named by the UK Met, we could see it named by Met Air and the Irish Met Office, as there could be some very severe winds associated with this. Still 3 days away, so things can change quite drastically in this time frame in terms of wind, peak wind speeds, but at the moment this looks extremely intense. And then across much of South Wales, southwest England, the winds pick up once again, getting as high as 70 miles per hour. And it's not just a small peak of 70 miles per hour, quite a large swathe of 60 plus, with the peak getting into the low 70s there. And that continues to the south of Wales, southwest England, very strong wind speeds, and even inland, seeing 40, 50 miles per hour, maybe as high as 60 at times across the south, where eventually those winds do die down through Saturday. And the peak winds are coming through Saturday afternoon, so it's not like it's coming through overnight. It could be very disruptive through Saturday if you have got plans, especially in the west and the south. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on this system, as this could, as I said, be named, and it will likely have yellow warnings. From the looks of this, probably an amber warning if this forecast is correct, if this model is correct. Forecasting winds are in upwards of 70 miles per hour, then I would expect an amber warning to be issued. But you never know, we'll have to wait and see what other models do show nearer the time. Of course, once we get into sort of the 40-hour time frame, so by Thursday, Friday time, a lot of the shorter range models will be sort of in the right time frame, and we'll be able to see what they are showing. If you move over to the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon, maybe just about getting 20 or 21 at best, but really not particularly great. Through Thursday, should be slight improvements, but because it's cooler air, maybe only 20 to 22 once again. As we head into Friday, maybe again 20, 22, as all that cool air is in, and the north really struggling, mid to high teens at best. And then into Saturday, you could see 20 degrees in some points, but under all that heavy rain, strong blustery winds, and thick cloud, really struggling around the low teens in many areas, really quite miserable. And then into Saturday, we should see some improvements, maybe touching 20 degrees, but in pretty cool North Atlantic or Arctic air. So yeah, going to be struggling to get much above 20 degrees. And remember, we are progressing through August, so the sun strength is reducing. Therefore, it means that it gets increasingly difficult to get warmer temperatures when we do get a bit of sunshine and a bit of dry weather, which is pretty easy to do in June and July because of that sun strength. So it's going to become increasingly difficult to get those sort of moderately warm days. We're going to have to start to see proper warm air masses to have any chance over the next couple of weeks, as summer is slowly drawing to a close in the next few weeks. And by mid-September to late September, we'll be thankful for anything remotely close to 20 plus degrees. So yeah, not looking great. But hopefully, as we'll see in a minute, there are signs things could be on the up from the latest longer range runs. If you just finish by looking at the Rome run, see what that is showing over the course of the next sort of 36 hours or so, you can see that very intense rain to the north of Leeds there, up towards, or sort of between Newcastle and Leeds, especially towards the coast. Very high rainfall rates you'd associate with thunderstorms there. That's why I think there's that risk of some lightning and thunder within this, as it's looking likely to be really high rainfall rate there. Could see a lot of rainfall as that rainfall, but the rainfall eventually does degrade away later this evening, and then you can see the big heavy showers and thunderstorms breaking out. Again, high rainfall rates in some of these, but not completely intense rainfall rates. We have seen thunderstorms shown on the Rome previously this summer. So perhaps not the most intense thunderstorms we've seen this summer, but quite widespread and could be quite disruptive again with this gusty winds around as well. Eventually those thunderstorms do degrade away around the 5-6 p.m. point, could linger in a few spots around the 7 or 8 p.m. point before moving away. We can actually see some more persistent rain overnight in the southeast as that weather front does eventually pull away. Into tomorrow afternoon, could see another batch of quite heavy, thundery showers breaking out again through the spine of England. Again, a bit of a convergence zone appearing there. Again, we have to keep an eye on what actually happens with that, as it is quite uncertain exactly how they will form, as they are very much pop-up convective showers. And if we do just have a look at the wind gusts, again you can see peaking around the 50-60 miles per hour, but most likely the strongest winds out towards the Channel or northern France. Again, the strongest winds occurring over the next couple of hours across the far south coast, maybe Isle of Wight seeing the worst winds there, but widely not too bad. We have definitely escaped the worst of the winds from this system. They're mostly out in the Channel towards North France. So yeah, luckily we're escaping the strongest winds, but that doesn't look like the case on Saturday. Unfortunately, the Rome doesn't go out more than 36 hours, so we'll probably have to wait until Thursday or Friday's video to have a look at those wind speeds in detail. So you finish by having a look at the longer range. I don't want to focus on this too much because it is still speculation. Because the next sort of 7 days doesn't look particularly great, but definitely has signs we could be on a up as we head through the rest of August. You can see very unsettled conditions. That very intense low pressure system on Saturday doesn't look too bad here on the pressure, but because it is very localised, if you zoom into the United Kingdom, very intense with very close isobars there towards its southern extent, and that's why the winds are so strong. Beyond that, though, as we progress towards next week, we do see more low pressure systems build in. But as we head towards the middle of next week and around week time, we see high pressure build. Low pressure tries to put some sort of fight out in the Atlantic, but high pressure actually holds on. Could see some brief breaks in the pressure there with some low pressure moving in. But generally, this GFS run has pretty decent high pressure building in with actually some warm upper air temperatures. Not warm upper air temperatures all the time, but here definitely as the lows try to advance in around 10 days' time, we could see some really quite warm air dragged up, and that could give temperatures in the mid-20s perhaps, maybe even high 20s if we do see some dry sunny weather coincide with it. So definitely some improvements from the GFS maybe as soon as 7 days' time. That is looking pretty decent. We'll be concentrating on this as we head through the next few days, and definitely after Saturday's system. But this stage, I don't want to focus on it too much because of the disruptive weather we have over the next few days. And there are still many things that could change with this. If those lows out in the Atlantic are more progressive, it could be warmer, but it could progress into quite another unsettled, thundery spell. Classic sort of hot plume thunderstorm sort of pattern, if those lows are a bit stronger and more advanced. If you do look at the GM, again, intense lows coming through over the next few days, brief respite through Thursday, Friday, but that another very intense low. Slightly further southwards, that could drag the strongest winds more offshore, and less through southern England, but still probably battering southwest England here. You can see those 10 metre wind speeds are very, very strong. Again, need to keep a very close eye on this low pressure system. But beyond that, high pressure does start to build in. Again, more inclined with that low pressure, drawing up hot air from the southeast, but quite unsettled, than the GFS, which was more high pressure dominated, but regardless, warmer, and would have some more drier spells. Just unfortunately, low pressure making more advancements here than is ideal, and that's why we have so much uncertainty with it. Finally, if we look at the ECMWF, again, intense low moving through the next few days, high pressure building in more in the longer term, and we do see some advancement from the low pressure system, but definitely more high pressure building in, and definitely more warmer, drier weather here. And you can see there are some showers and areas of precipitation, but generally you can see that weather front gets completely degraded away as it approaches the UK, and that's because the pressure is rising quite quickly. So this is encouraging from the ECMWF, but not a completely dominant high pressure pattern, kind of in between where it's improving, but not completely dry and completely warm. If you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see it's well reflected here. Very cool and unsettled over the next week. But as I said, around that 10th of August point, in around 7-8 days' time, upper air temperatures return to average, maybe above average, and precipitation does reduce as well, more towards sort of the lower showery sort of extent. Some higher rates and some higher spikes, but at this stage they are definitely more in the outlier here, but we have to keep an eye on those. Those will be the ones that have more low pressure being progressive. The 2 metre temperatures are generally cool over the next week before improvements. You can see Saturday, abysmal there. Look at that, 14, 15, maybe at best 16 degrees. Really quite horrible before it turns much warmer as we progress beyond that. The 10-metre wind speeds are pretty poor as well. You can see it's quite strong today, but even stronger on Saturday, dying out a bit in the longer term. And finally, the sea level pressure, generally much higher as we progress onwards. And you see very low today as the central flow is moving through southern England, but uncertainty on Saturday how low the pressure will get and where that centre of low will move through. But definitely improvements in the long term, around 1,020 millibars or above, which is pretty high, is on the more high pressure end. If we finish by looking at the east of the RF, pretty similar, cold and unsettled over the next week or so, but around the 10th of August, even bigger spike up to warm upper air temperatures, getting towards the 15-degree range. Again, if that fell in June, July, we'd be looking at 30-degree maxes. August, more likely high 20s, so a couple of degrees loss as we do start to lose some of that that intensity of the sun, but still very warm, much better than what we have now, and precipitation just lower as well, not to nothing, but as much as the GFS or even less. Pressure is still pretty high in the longer term, and the 2-metre temperatures definitely improving as well in the longer term. And finally, the wind speeds, definitely a big peak appearing for Saturday, so it could be very lively indeed. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay safe throughout today, and of course on Saturday as well, as it's looking even more lively day. Could be a name storm coming through, definitely likely to be yellow warnings, could even be amber warnings issued for the wind in the south and the west from the looks of the latest run. So do stay safe for that, and do keep up to date with not only the videos but other official weather forecasts and the weather warnings as well, which are likely to be changing in the next few days. So as I said, thanks for watching, hope you have enjoyed. Fingers crossed for a bit of warm weather in the long term, and I'll see you again for another video soon.